Mr. Israel of New York.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank my good friend and colleague, Mr. Bishop from Long Island, for asking several of us to pay tribute to Lieutenant Michael Murphy, who received the Medal of Honor. Madam Speaker, I did not know Michael Murphy personally, but I knew of him. I have a love of history, and particularly military history. And I know that every generation of Americans has confronted challenge and threat, grave and great, with the heroism of Michael Murphy. Every generation has produced its Michael Murphys. In August of 1776, in the Battle of New York, there were men like Michael Murphy. They were surrounded by the most powerful navy in the world, the British Navy. American democracy could have been snuffed out at that point, but men like Michael Murphy took risk, sacrificed their lives, fought on, and replaced British monarchy with American democracy. They fell, Madam Speaker, so that I could stand here in this body, the Congress of the United States, the People's House of the oldest democracy on earth. There were Mike Murphys in Gettysburg, in the Fighting 69th and other brigades, at Shiloh, at Fredericksburg. There were plenty of Union generals who told President Lincoln that they didn't really need to fight the Civil War. You could have slavery on one side of the line and we could have freedom on the other, and that would be fine. But there were men like Michael Murphy who understood that slavery in the United States was not an option. They fought on. They refused to retreat. They would not surrender. They would not lose their ground. They fell so that my children could grow up in a country of liberty versus tyranny. Madam Speaker, there were Mike Murphys who grew up on Long Island. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Madam Speaker, stood where you are now and summoned America into the greatest battle of the 20th century against Nazism and fascism, there were Mike Murphys from Long Island who stood up, who stormed beaches, who leapt hills, who ran through Europe, freed Europe, liberated concentration camps, went to the Pacific, freed the Pacific, and came back and looked at the moon and said we could go there too. Many of those heroes, Madam Speaker, are from Long Island, and we value and thank every one. Only 18 Long Islanders, Madam Speaker, have received the Medal of Honor. Mike Murphy and 17 others. Madam Speaker, Mike Murphy fell on a long and noble tradition of those who made the ultimate sacrifice. He is linked in time with those I mentioned in Afghanistan and Iraq and Vietnam and Korea and Normandy, and stretching back to the earliest battles and the first battlefield. So let me close, Madam Speaker, with a passage that could have been written about Michael Murphy, although it was uttered almost 2,500 years ago. This is what Pericles said at the funeral of fallen soldiers. In the fighting, they thought it more honorable to stand their ground and suffer death than to give in and save their lives. So they fled from the reproaches of men, abiding with life and limb the brunt of battle, and in a small moment of time, the climax of their lives, a culmination of glory, not of fear, they were swept away from us. So and such they were, these men, worthy of their city. Madam Speaker, Michael Murphy went to Afghanistan to defend the city of New York, which was attacked out of Afghanistan on 9/11. He joins a proud and noble tradition of history's best. My thoughts, my prayers, my condolences go to him and his family, and he will always be remembered in this Congress, the citadel of freedom in the world, for fighting for that freedom. I thank the Speaker, I thank my friend, Mr. Bishop, and I yield back the balance of my time.